Okay,
Woohoo!
we are alive.
Well, what do you know?
All right. Well, welcome Roundtable for the Paranormal Lovers. I really appreciate you all guys for doing this. Michael 8 for Septembryo is drinking what we think might be coffee.
We do
Two
not know.
Snider,
never
a
tell.
mystery beverage, and Carle. Well,
Iced tea.
I know what's in there, Carole.
Yeah. And Tui.
And I've got my coffee, of course, because that's
There we go.
I live and drink by. But
A little too late for coffee.
everybody for tuning in for this live broadcast. We're celebrating the paranormal. This is much more casual than we normally do with Paranormal Now or even Coffee and UFOs, the edited version. So, I just thought this was a great opportunity to bring people in the community together to share, how it's sort of impacted their lives. I mean, Michael and I, we've talked about this a number of times, and so Carole. But I wonder what y'all think the societal impact is that there is such a, what I would consider like a media presence, a force of the paranormal now that's taking over TV and even movies more than ever, And what do you think the effect of the pursuit of the paranormal is on society? So I guess we'll start with Tui and get your take on it. And
because I'm spacing out over here. Well, I don't know what I'll say. Boston. No. Well, I have noticed. When I was a kid, there were not that many books out about the paranormal. It was just one of those things. Every now and then there'd be like a special on TV about the Bermuda Triangle or something, and I'd be like, "Woo! Yeah, excited!" Or some anomalies, and it just does seem to be growing more and more. I do think that as a writer, I'm always thinking about the importance of story and the stories we tell ourselves. And like when you look back, I really do enjoy watching dated movies and reading dated books because that really gives you a peek into the zeitgeist. I love having an excuse to use that word, but I don't get to say it very often. But
Sure.
it's perfect. But when you read something that's really dated and really of its time period, it really shows you what the people were thinking at that time. And so I think we can really look at what we're doing now more and more paranormal. I know so many paranormal authors. I'm friends with a lot of writers, and then there's so many subgenres to that. And we do seem to be examining the idea of both AI. I see a lot of things about us, like the afterlife, AI. We're all wondering if we're going to be uploaded into the cloud. We have really great metaphors now. Now that we have the internet, I think we have really great metaphors for what we used to have, the internet, ESP. Now we have the internet and we downloads, and you hear people using all these terms, modern terms to describe what we're experiencing. So I think it's kind of a big opening we're having, and we're examining all these ideas through our literature and our movies, and that's kind of how we try ideas out. And our dreams, people are having really crazy dreams. So that's a few thoughts from me.
Yeah,
right.
I wanted to add that Tui has a new book out, an ebook called Grave Goods. It's a really fun read. Yeah. So can you just speak really quick on that?
Sure, of course. Oh, I could speak really long too, but I won't. If you go over to, you go to my website, first of all, you can get a free book there that explains the symbolism of hands, because it's a really good gateway into getting into studying cemetery symbolism. And I think it's important to study cemetery symbolism. People think it's all obscure and run around dressed like Morticia. I mean, I love that look, but that's not the whole thing. But I really think that 100 years ago, our ancestors had a much more poetic sense. And I think a better idea of what symbols meant, and a better connection to symbology. Like today, we're really literate. We go, Grandpa liked tractors, so I'm going to put a tractor on his headstone. Yes. But in the past, people engaged more in a symbolic way, and I bet they were better at interpreting their dream too, because your dream speaks to you in symbology. Poets, people were more akin to poetry. So anyway, back to my book. I have a book out that is all about the things we leave at cemeteries. So those are called grave goods. It's not, you think of grave goods, you think of King Tutankhamun being buried with all that gold and silver. Well, people are still buried with things today. A lot of times it's their cell phone. But and I go through the book. I have 50 full-page color photos in it, which was really fun. And and I describe what all the different things mean. Like if you see a stone, what that means. If you see a coin, and all the different traditions. It's just a fun book. It came out today. I'm understandably excited about it. You can go by Amazon if you want to check it out, or go buy my free book. You can go by my website, get the free book, and learn about hands. And then you'll see how fun cemetery symbols can be.
Incredible. So
That's really
that
cool.
title one more time?
It's called Grave. So my voice cracks. Grave Goods.
Grave Goods. That's great.
Yeah. It's an
And that just
archaeological term.
happened
that
that came
you
out
hear.
today? That just happened to come out today? That's
Yeah,
awesome. That's really cool.
I didn't even know it was Paranormal Day when that day was set. I was just like, May 3rd, cool. It's kind of before Cinco de Mayo. Maybe
You
people don't
knew.
care.
Yeah, there we
on
go.
some level.
That's
Internet.
it, Michael. Cue spooky music. Right. Well, that's an interesting thing. Right.
No.
Thank you kindly. What? No guitar. But okay, well, next time. But no, the deal about May 3rd, about this date being international, or I guess it's just national. Come on, the countries of the world must get on board with this. But so far, it's just National Paranormal Day. And Alan, when he was telling me that he was setting this all up, he said the only reference he could find to why this particular date was picked was because I happen to have in my hands the fact that this is the day that Charles Hoy Fort, in other words, Charles Fort, died in 1932, etc. So this is his death date. He was born August 6th, 1874, died May 3rd, 1932. And, born in Albany, New York, et cetera, et cetera. I won't go into the rest of it. Google it. But, Charles Fort and Fortean phenomena. There is, for instance, Tobias and Emily Wayland have been guests on my show a couple of times. They have the Singular Fortean Society, right? And that is from whence they got their title. But it would make sense that May 3rd is that, it's a little obtuse, and it's so funny because I did this kind of a Google before the show began. Can we call this a show? Why not? Yeah. But before it began, I did some sleuthing around, and that was, mostly it was like nobody knows why this is the date. So.
To be shrouded in mystery. The whole, why not?
Perfect, isn't it?
Let's make up an urban legend and see if it catches on.
Oh my gosh, that would be perfect. And when you were talking about the seance, so there we go. Whoops, let's backtrack. And circle back to what you were saying about the internet and how that has changed things, etc. I can remember probably a decade ago coming across the fact that there were people who considered the internet to be a kind of a modern version of the seance,
interesting.
And I guess technically the translation of seance in French, I guess, literally means, it sounds like something, from The Sopranos. It's a sit down. And so in this case, I sit down.
French sit down sounds so great.
Hey, what? Yeah, I know. Seance. And in a lot of old Hollywood movies, they say seance and seance, right? So I don't know. But what you were talking about, how it's really cool to see old films, certainly to read old literature, but YouTube has a plethora of films in which it's so clunky. There are 1930-something films, black and white, of course, about zombies. And then there are films in the mid-40s where you can quite the exposition, oh boy, and sometimes it's clumsy. They are explaining to the audience what a zombie is. So, go figure. And then that's, again, I'll leave that in.
But speaking of zombies, I always kind of thought those were, I would catch myself using the word zombie. And then I would think why I'm using it to describe myself. And it was usually when I was in a soul-sucking job, like a cubicle job, that I felt was eating my brain. I felt like my brain had better use. So I wondered if the reason zombies became a popular thing was because collectively we were thinking, does my job even matter? Here, I have this job. Does it even matter? Or is it just eating my brains the way a zombie would? I mean, because you look back at like 50s and 60s sci-fi and you see a lot of Cold War fears projected literally and figuratively onto the screen. Right. And so then when I think of zombies, I kind of wondered along the way. And I think zombies also help express a lot of fear of contagion because a lot of times it's spread by fate disease. I don't know, probably people have written essays about this, but that's just what I think of. I like to listen to the the words that come out of my mouth sometimes.
What did I just talk? No, and
Did I just say something?
Just so everybody knows, Natalie should be jumping in any minute now.
Good.
So we should be
terrific! She
Yay!
can join us as
We'll
we.
give her
As we
jazz
oh, I see your kitty cat there, Michael.
Yay.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I
Kitty,
got
mine just came
both
left.
cats with me.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
They
lovely.
jump in and out.
right. Okay.
Ooh.
Well, hey, that leads to and all kinds of interesting things and lends stuff to the.
the kitty
Oh, beautiful! Oh my God! I had to banish my Samson cat, this huge black puffy furry cat, also known as the Mighty Bitey. And yes, he is.
no.
He loves short weather. He goes for the legs, and it's play to him. But that's the water bottle sprayer thing. But speaking of, I love when you said speaking of zombies. I mean, it's like such the fact that we even say that and it means anything. And I'm going to blow it. I didn't do any kind of research. There was a writer, and in The Walking Dead in the first season, there's a scene where there's a highway. Oh, let's just stop this and say hello to Natalie.
Hey,
Hello,
Natalie.
There she
Hello.
is.
Hi.
I made it. Sorry, I'm late.
No. Oh, wait.
No,
Okay.
we just got the audience all warmed up for you. That's all.
I've got a few seats over here too.
Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah,
God.
go grab their cats.
Maya, too. She's
Oh,
a sweetheart.
oh
If you
God.
see, she has this really beautiful kind of Harry Potter.
Right, yeah.
Oh,
It's kind of what's called a tuxedo cat, right?
Like,
Yeah.
there you go. She's got this really beautiful swirl on her chest. It's like this white and black. Yeah.
It's
she's-
a hypno dot.
That's awesome.
Wow.
That's
Very
what I
nice.
love about this quarantine thing happening right now is everyone's on Zoom and stuff, and the
Yeah.
cats are always making a cameo,
They are.
interrupting board
Yes.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah. How dare you
That's
talk
awesome.
to that screen for so long?
Yeah, they don't like you looking at screens. That's
You
for
know,
sure.
it feels less awkward though to share my cat on video, like in a Zoom meeting, than it does like when you're at work and you're like, oh, look at my phone. Oh wait, let me find the picture. Wait, let me find it. You know.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just,
So,
yeah.
okay, so how many of us have cats?
How many of us have cats?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Natalie.
I have a dog that thinks she's a cat. So
Okay.
does that count?
There you
Yeah,
go. That
yeah,
counts.
that counts.
Yeah.
We'll let you
Absolutely.
It is a
in that love.
paranormal platform, so yeah.
Definitely counts.
Yeah. So I missed a little bit as I was speaking with Natalie, getting on, and I just want to give Natalie a chance to introduce herself really quickly as well. And Natalie is a psychic medium, and
So she knows what we've already said. All right. So okay.
No, I was
Okay.
I was too stressed about my technical issues to tune in that way. No, yes, the psychic medium stuff came a little later in life. I used to be a lawyer actually, and then I was an author and
Whoa.
a paranormal researcher and investigator. And then realized I had some gifts later on in life and figured out I better see what I should do about that. So yes, so I've been a practicing medium for a few years now. So
Wow.
yes.
And then off.
So do your friends, your former legal profession friends, how do they feel about
It was
are they
it was
like,
a-
yeah, are they what?
It didn't happen that quickly. It was a long evolution. I actually became a writer first and started writing ghost stories. And then I, as an author, aspiring to get my stories out there in the world, I joined a paranormal group that is called Ghost Stories Inc., where we specifically take people on ghost hunts in the name of creative inspiration. And as we were doing all these events all over the country, I realized I could see, hear, and know and understand a lot more than everybody else in the room. And I figured I'd better figure out what to do about that. So I started taking some classes and developing some gifts that were sort of exploding. And here I am.
Well, has anyone noticed?
awesome.
Because normally under extreme circumstances, we learn things about ourselves, or life sort of evolves or manifests in ways that it wouldn't normal during regular life routine. During the quarantine, has anyone noticed anything strange or behavioral changes, paranormal, apparitions or appearances? Have there been any pattern changes in that arena?
I have definitely noticed more vivid dreams. I'll just say that, and I know
Yes,
that a lot of people have. I
definitely.
know I'm
Yeah.
not alone in that. And
I
I've
was
also
gonna-
noticed, either my friends are either of two camps. They're either sleeping more or they're like sleeping less and doing okay. I normally need 8 or 9 hours of sleep, and just that's the way it is. I can't get around that. I'll feel it eventually. Lately, it's just like I feel kind of energized. Like sometimes I'm waking up at night, especially when the moon was full. I know it's cliche, but I was just wanting to walk around outside. And I've been feeling a pull toward nature. That's what I've been feeling.
Toward nature.
So it seems like everybody reacted on dreams, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm remembering my dreams more than I usually do, and I'm having recurring dreams more than I used to. So
Okay, and
Well, Michael, speaking of dreams, you tap into dreams for your music.
I do, yeah.
my.
So have you felt anything different at all?
So it's interesting because my life hasn't changed that much because I started working from home, living off music just in the past fall. So just a little bit before this all happened. So it hasn't changed dramatically like I know a lot of people have. But interestingly enough, I had, we talk a lot about my experiences with sleep paralysis and how they're pretty unique because I usually have good experiences and I'm never paralyzed, and that's probably why. So I'll see things that range from, positive to neutral in the, I think I've been having these experiences since 2004 and I can count like 2-3 sessions where I've ever been actually scared. And I had one just 2 nights ago that was terrifying. So it's a very unique thing. And so I had to kind of wonder about where did that come from and what's happening that's
Are you picking up on the collective fear maybe? I don't know.
I don't know. It was very interesting though.
Right.
So I don't know if
that's
that's
what I wonder.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a result of that because I know, even though it's not such a dramatic change for me, we're still, finding little things that like, hey, this is affecting me more than I'm aware of, because we're just the simple freedom of, that we take for granted of like, I'm going to go to the mall and just browse for no reason. You can't do that,
Well,
I didn't realize how much my mental stability was based on going to the mall and doing nothing, but apparently it's a need. So,
and even if you didn't do it, the fact that you could if you wanted to, okay? And so now that's sort of been altered. I just want to interrupt, Alan. Let's see. I don't know what. Okay, never mind. This is not a. Okay, can I dump a question? I don't know. You gave me that power, but I don't know how to do that. But okay, okay, there we go. Oh my God, the power. But anyway, this is brand new.
Just so everybody knows, Carle is co-administering and producing with me tonight. So, and there's a good reason for anyone who's not familiar with StreamYard, because it runs through a browser. If you are ever streaming with it, it's good to have someone with you that has the administrative access, because if my computer were to crash right now, then at least Carole's still running the broadcast, and vice versa. So just, I know StreamYard is becoming popular. It's just something to think about.
Plan B.
Exactly. But back to the dreams, because that's so interesting. I was going to bring that up. I've had some dreams that I suppose one could trap in something very close to lucid dreaming, as I understand it, without making it, I can't say that I have deeply researched lucid dreaming, but I kind of know, the ins and outs of it to some degree. But I had something the other night in which I dreamed that I woke up and thought that somehow Sammy the cat, the mighty bitey, had gotten into the room, and I knew that he was closed up in his little cubbies downstairs. So that just didn't track. And I looked around the room. It was exactly as though it is, and yet I felt there was someone in the house. I looked down. You can see one flight of stairs. There's a small landing, and then there is a storage space between the floors that has 2 doors on it. And in my dream, it was a dream, but at the time I had no idea it was a dream. One of those doors were open. There were some objects that we keep in there that were on the steps. And so I went into the master bed and I like, Ted, wake up, there's somebody in the house. And I shook him and I couldn't wake him up. And then I realized, wait, we don't have a 4-poster bed. This is not the bed, right? My only clue that it was a dream. And then I woke up and I was in bed, and it was so, but what I'm trying to say is that it was completely wide awake. And when I woke up, I was like, the adrenaline was pumping. It was as though there had been a real fear of some sort. Yeah. So that is landmarked for me as a completely uncharacteristic dream, and I just don't dream like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Michael is from Septembryo. If anybody's not familiar with Septembryo,
Oh my gosh, check out
the bumper
Septembryo.
music.
Oh,
Yeah,
the best.
Michael's very kind to let us use his music for bumper music on Paranormal Now and KGRA.
Oh, cool.
And you know, I think that with so many people quarantined, people are sort of pressured to think more creatively. You know, especially in work situations, or even, you know, things like this. Like more and more people are just doing online streaming conversations because we've had like just a plethora of conventions and and conferences that are
I
canceled.
spoke at one this morning, another paranormal.
You say, yeah, you were saying you're really busy, right?
It was fun.
Yeah. So, I mean, have you guys had any, you know, creative impulses that have come out of this situation?
Definitely. Yeah. I always have new music coming, but I'll just leave it at there's more music coming from Michael 8 than there is Septembryo. I'll just leave it at that and explain
nice.
later.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Wow.
Now, what about you, Natalie?
How about you guys?
Do you have like any creative, you know,
Yeah, it's been nice in some respects because everything else kind of slowed down. I have 3 kids and they're all very independent with their schoolwork. So they've all been off doing their thing, and that gives me a little bit more time to write. I started a horror novel a few years ago that I have not had time to get back to. And so I've been working on that lately, and that's been a lot of fun. And just also, it's really interesting to see the way everything is kind of evolving. I've been seeing a lot of my clients still regularly just through the virtual formats now. And I work with a colleague who does astrology, and we've been doing joint readings together, even though we're all in our different places. And it's been fun to see how the connection still works anyway. And just the evolution of how this is going to change our business now going forward, just being able to offer classes and things to people all over the country and not have to always do it in person.
Yes, and I think it's a learning curve, especially some
Definitely.
of the technology. But because of that, it's forcing people to learn tech, you know, that they're not typically comfortable with, virtual tech.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to sort of streamline a lot of connections once we get back to so-called normal.
And think outside the box too. Just think how, you know, how to change your business or whatever it is that you're doing so that it can reach people even with all of our restrictions in place right now. So
what do you guys think about Jennifer Weaver's comment? I understand paralytic dreams are associated with alien or demonic connections.
There's a lot of parallels between sleep paralysis and alien abduction stories or demonic possession throughout history. There's all these parallels that are suggestive that, you know, all these seemingly separate experiences have a connecting thread. And I mean, just, you know, a shot in the dark, my best guess would be that they're all different experiences that are happening when, you know, we're tuning into something that's not exactly physical. That's all I can say about that.
I wanted to point out that it's very important for us to be paralyzed when we are asleep. There's a guy who's a comedian. I forgot who he is, but he suffers from something where his body does not secrete the hormone or whatever it is that paralyzes you when you're asleep. And so he will live out his dreams, and he's fallen out of his window before. Right. He's done all. It's very dangerous for him to sleep every night. So when you become conscious while you're still in a deep state, it's scary because your body has very nicely kept you paralyzed. You don't dream about like, I'm chopping onions and you're actually stabbing yourself in the eye. You know, there are reasons for it. Now, throughout history, of course, you know, the whole incubus, succubus, the whole thing. There's a lot of, you know, the witch who rides you. You can read all these things, and I mean, it can be very scary. But I just want to point out that there is a physiological necessity for being paralyzed when you sleep. You just don't want to be aware of it.
And
I actually used to sleepwalk as a kid, and so I can connect. The reason why I'm never paralyzed when I'm having my sleep paralysis is because whatever that function is not completely there. I'm sure there's varying degrees between that comedian, you know, having to sleep in a sleeping bag, and then other people that sleepwalk sometimes, or things like that. But yeah, there is a physiological function that does paralyze you, and it does protect you, so it's there. Yeah.
But I think it's also important that if you have a paranormal experience like that where you are paralyzed, it doesn't necessarily have to be demonic, because in my experience, that's incredibly rare. So I think there's a lot of things that could cause that, and to immediately jump to that conclusion can be a little, dangerous too, because then you start worrying and fearing that, and then who knows what you're calling in with that fear. So.
Yeah, you're just inviting it by that kind of focus. Yeah.
Yeah, you always think about when a bird flies in your house, a little bird, and you have to catch it with your hand and take it outside, and how terrifying that is for the poor little bird. Well, maybe something is trying to connect you and give you some helpful, raising your vibrations, or give you some information or whatever. When you're just terrified, you're like that little bird. Like,
well, and I think a lot of people are waking up to gifts now that with the energy shifting that's happening all over the place. I think a lot of people are going inside and waking up to some gifts that they've never experienced before as well. I know that certainly happened with me. So then, the next question is, what do you do about that? And how do you figure out what that is?
And maybe with all this expanded time, I don't know, but maybe with a lot of us not having that 9 to 5 demand on our consciousness, we can explore these things. Say, Alan, do you see that question from Ryan Sprague?
Oh, Ryan. Hey.
Yeah, hello, Ryan.
Put that up.
I'll just read it. Have you guys heard the fascinating theory that our unconscious mind hasn't caught up to our current technological age? And that's why people rarely, if ever, dream about their cell phones or computers. I wonder if our dream world is actually a different timeline just a little behind us. Whoa, Ryan.
That's fascinating.
That is, oh my God.
What a fun idea.
Does the higher self version of you know that those things don't really connect to your higher vibration, so it's just like, the hell with it, we're gonna dream about elephants instead of cell phones, that's better.
Or to go along with that, maybe the higher self doesn't need the technology, because it's already
maybe the
connected.
Maybe the higher self,
that's right,
actually sees it as a negative, right?
I can read your mind. I don't need a phone.
You guys so familiar with this is popped in my head of Plato's cave analogy?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so he was trying to explain like the soul, like I'm very rusty. I don't know why I haven't thought of this in a long time. But okay, so he's trying to explain to someone, these people, they're stuck. They can't move. There's a fire behind them, and all they can see are these shadows on the wall in front of them. So they project their consciousness. They think that the shadow is them. They become so because when the shadow moves when they talk, and so they think that's it. But it's kind of like the Matrix, where the original one, where so what that 2-dimensional shadow that they think is them, but they're really this 3-dimensional thing. I don't know. That just popped in my head, and I had to blurt it out because it felt like it tied in. Because we look at ourselves, we've got there's me. I can look at me on this screen and kind of identify and really feel like that's me, but it's just me coming through StreamYard. And I just kind of, sometimes I think about how, one big takeaway we might have from all this is how connected we are, because, the radio, we started to be able to turn on our radio every night, and the president could talk to us through that. And then, TV came, then we could see the president and other people. And then internet came, and now we have friends in India and, or wherever, and Nigerian princes. I'm blurting. Just I had a big blurt. You could do something with my blurt.
And I think let me try. I think you could even take that a step further then, because right now, like you said, the radio's connected before. Now we're all connected through the internet. The next step is maybe we don't even need those things to connect because we're connected on the collective.
And maybe we realized we never did need that other stuff,
right? Which is maybe tying it back. That's why we don't dream about those things, because we're all connected in our subconscious to the collective anyway. So we don't need those connections.
So it's just editing that out, so that we can connect deeper into our physiology and what it's capable of, rather than a reliance on. Because I suppose it would be a distraction in the dream, right?
Yeah, it's like
I have dreamt about Twitter before, but I don't think I've dreamt about any other social media platforms.
I think
probably-
Michael's cat just like knocked him out.
Oh no, Michael, where did you go? Oh, maybe it's a cat emergency.
It's time for my cat.
Oh, beautiful! Look at that.
She's only got half a tail because she got into a fight with a raccoon.
Oh my gosh!
Now she's an indoor cat only.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
might come back. She's in the window now.
So what happened to the raccoon?
Yeah, we don't know. So I came home. I'll make this quick. And I was like, oh my gosh, the cat's all wet. What's going on? Oh no, her tail's gone. My husband went out in the back and he goes, oh, I found her tail. And he put her thing up.
Oh,
yeah. Anyway.
Wow, she's fine. Wow.
Oh, I love your cat. And he's like, oh my gosh.
This is fantastic. Oh my gosh. So, well, has anyone with pets? Have you?
She's drinking out of the aquarium.
Have you ever noticed them noticing something in your space?
Mm.
Well, mine's just thrilled to pieces. She loves it when I'm home. You mean seeing other things?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
No.
What was the question? Do the pets notice
when
anything
they
in
stare,
the space?
that you don't see.
Right.
Either this one sees ghosts all the time, so I can't tell what's happening, or she's just that paranoid. So it's doesn't make a difference to me.
Every now and then, she will do something like that. But I'm like, what are you looking at? She'll just be all her pupils just.
Yeah. See, it's as much the body language as the pupils. That's what gets me. Is when it's like, so you have to wonder what is going on physiologically. But
we had a really cool experience with our dog now. Right after we got her, she's a rescue, and we've had her for about 3 or 4 years now. But we lived overseas in Belgium for a while
when my
kids were really little, and we actually moved there with a really old lab, and we ended up having to leave her there because she never would have survived the trip back, and so she stayed with a friend of mine and lived her golden life in retirement.
Wow.
We joke that she upgraded because she had a nice, beautiful yard and everything, and didn't have to make that trip back. And about a year after we were back in Minnesota, we had a rescue dog, and we had just gotten her. She was downstairs in her crate sleeping, and in the middle of the night, she started making this ridiculously crazy noise from her crate. And so I got up out of bed, I went down and I checked on her. Couldn't settle her, ended up having to bring her crate up to our bedroom. And of course now she sleeps like under the blanket in our bed. So this was back in the beginning, but and she was crying and carrying on the whole rest of the night, and she's never done it before and never since. But that next morning I got a note from my friend who had taken our dog that they had to put her down. And if you looked at the timing of it, it was exactly the right time where they would have put Jazzy down, and it was almost like she came to visit us and make sure we were okay. Right. And I could just see her sitting outside our new dog's crate going, "Sucker, we died. I never had to stay in a crate when I lived with them."
Oh my God.
Yeah, but it was a really cool visit story. And again, my dog has never made that noise ever since. So it was cool.
Wow.
Yes, that's the thing when it's a standout, a singleton, a one-off like that.
Yeah.
You have to give it extra credibility. And Michael, I'm just going crazy. Are you able to get?
This is fantastic.
I know, she's so pretty
on your shoulder.
That's great.
Incredible.
But I feel like you're stuck in that position, though. Am I wrong?
Are you?
I'm stuck.
Cat paralysis. It's like there's sleep paralysis and there's cat paralysis.
Yeah, right. Yeah, very good. Very good.
Can't move. My cat's on me.
And I'm highlighting this comment.
I have a being on me, and it's paralyzing me. Maybe it's just cats sitting on my chest while I sleep.
Oh my God.
That's sleep paralysis.
I've got there's a question here that I'm looking at from Lena Anelli I'm going to bastardize her name. Lena.
Hi, Lena.
Yeah, and listen, in what language do you dream? She dreams in two, English and Finnish. If my father, she says, who died in 2004, visits me in dreams, of course, it is in Finnish, though sometimes I feel that my dreams are not in any language, but the communication is delivered in vibrations, colors, tones, and frequency. This frequencies, plural. Oh my God. Wow. I'm just thinking so many of these questions are like prompts for the best science fiction stories ever. Yeah. Oh my.
All right.
That's really cool.
Wow. So does anybody here dream in another language that they speak?
When I was living in Belgium, I used to dream in French, but that hasn't happened in a long time.
Wow.
I live in the Flemish part of Belgium, so I would dream in Flemish when I was there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Are you sure you just didn't need to clear your throat, Julie? I'm sorry.
No,
got that.
no, I hear you. It's very funny. Like the word "alsjeblieft" means please, but don't you feel like I just sneezed or something? Like, anyway,
It kind of, yeah.
I'm always fluent. I'm always much better. Like I can speak Italian and Spanish in my dreams, but like I have to drink a couple beers to like make sense. And I think I'm really good at them when I'm awake. Yeah, but when I'm asleep, I'm like, oh yeah, it's just flowing.
Wow.
So in regard to the dreams, does anybody have any suggestions as to how to handle maybe intense dreams, sleep?
Write them down. Dream notebooks are your friend. I love dream notebooks. I've had one since I was 18 and I slack off and don't use it for a while. And then I'll get into it. You write a few things down, even a few keywords, because it just evaporates fast. And then look back, and what's neat is you'll see keywords and things you didn't even, I looked back at my once after a few months and I realized I'm having recurring black dogs in my dreams. And I didn't know that. So then when I went to bed, if there was something scary that keeps coming up again, I just say over in your head, what are the black dogs? What are the black dogs? What are the black dogs? Fall asleep. And then I had a really enlightening dream where the symbology of it really came out. Ask yourself, okay, my big tip is to write them down and then ask your subconscious for help, because your subconscious is trying to talk to you in extreme symbols. So if you're mad, you get a raging fire as a symbol or something, or if you feel like you've just going through a breakup, you dream of an earthquake and things are falling off all around you. They're not literal. That's one reason I think it's so important for us to I'm a big, I write about cemetery symbols, but I really believe in the importance of understanding life in a symbolic way. So.
Yes, I mean, Lizette suggested possibly lying on your stomach. I can't say like any positions change my dreams, but then again, maybe like Tui said, maybe if I actually wrote my dreams down, I could discover.
What Freud said? He said an unexamined dream was like an unopened piece of mail from a friend, because your subconscious is trying to tell you stuff. And if you think about it, we're all having more vivid dreams. Well, hello, our subconscious is going, you guys have a little more time on your hands. Listen to me. I've got things to tell you about you and the world.
Oh, well put. Oh my gosh. You ought to write a book. Oh, no. Okay.
And I think you could also set that intention before you go to sleep at night too. That I want to see someone or ask.
Yes.
Just set the intention, and that can help to empower you a little bit more with your dreams, especially if you're having something scary. To kind of set the intention that you not dream scary stuff and get signs and signals and different things like that too. So
we had a comment that was interesting. It was talking about somebody saying that sleeping on their stomach seemed to help with the sleep paralysis, which I've heard quite often. But what's interesting is I did have one experience where I was actually paralyzed when I woke up, and I happened to be sleeping on my stomach. So I don't really know how that works. So I'd be curious to hear more experiences about that.
I wonder that sleeping on the stomach. So what would that okay, let's go back to primordial or really primitive, like if you sleep on your stomach, right? Well, there's that, and I cannot speak to chakras because I'm not educated enough in that. But
actually, I'm just thinking because with COVID-19, all the discussions that are going on, we were watching a video, my wife and I, about someone who was showing people how to do breathing exercises. And he mentioned that as a COVID patient, you shouldn't be lying on your back if you're in a terrible state, because it affects your respiratory system, and that actually
you're putting pressure on the lungs.
So I wonder if you breathe better when you're on your stomach. I don't know.
just more oxygen to the brain. Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh no, that's interesting, Michael.
This is a really interesting.
There's definitely more serious study needed for this.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I love this comment right here by Jennifer. I was driving by a cemetery and made eye contact with a human sitting on a bench. His eyes were black. I then made a decision to disconnect with the spiritual world. How many of you have had a close encounter where it was right on the edge of, was that not quite human? Because I've had that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Who wants to talk about it now?
I think I might be like alone here because no, I can't say that I have, not consciously, in dreams certainly, of course, but then who hasn't in dreams? But you guys have. Wow.
Well, there was one time
mostly just sleep paralysis stuff. So like that's arguably dreams, but that's it for me. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember there was one time, it was a while ago. I walked into an elevator with somebody, and it was the strangest feeling. Like that person was not human. Like I can't put my finger on it. There was just this weird, otherworldly, ethereal feeling about this person.
Yeah.
And the way they looked at me was just so. They were very friendly, but it was like piercing friendly. Like it was.
Okay. Oh my God. All right. You just triggered
kind
something.
of goosebumpy, I'd forgotten about that until I saw that comment.
Oh, you just reminded me of something. We're having triggers.
Me too. Go ahead.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What happened to you two?
Oh, well, okay. I kind of totally forgot about this, but when I was growing up, but I'll try and make it quick. But my Girl Scout troop, we went to the big city, and my Girl Scout leader pulled me aside. She's like, "Look, I don't want you to look at anyone. I don't want you to smile at anyone, because you, my dear, are a freak magnet." And because I smile a lot, and I'm like, we came from a little small town, and you smile and wave. And so she said, get your city game face on, don't look or smile, and don't talk to anyone. I'm like 15 years old, trying really hard, and it's hard for me not to smile. I'm like, it's like even when I'm scared, I smile, whatever. Yeah. So we went into this record store, and I'm looking through vinyl, pulling it out and everything, and I'm like, not going to talk to anybody. I've tried really hard to look at anyone. And this guy comes up to me, and he goes, "Hey, I could feel him." Like when he walked in, I could feel he was looking at me. Like it wasn't predatory, and he was really unusual. He had he had these crutches, and he had a bunch of metal all through his teeth and this weird little hat on. He was very distinct, and he just kind of came up to me, started talking to me, and I felt like I knew him. And he goes, "Oh, so you're 15 now. You're doing really well. We're really proud of you. Keep up the good work." And then he walks off. I'm like, "Who is that?" I moved to that town when I was 18. I come around a corner one day, and it's him. And he goes, "Oh, what are you? Oh, you must be about 18 now. I see you cut your hair. Well, we're really happy with you. Just keep up the good work, yada, yada." And I'm like, and then it just went on all the way until I was 21. One time on the bus, who gets on the bus? It's him. He sits next to me. Now, the stupid thing that I kicked myself for to this day is that I would just go into this state where I did not ask him any questions when he would be talking to me, but he would know things about me. Like, "I see you just broke up with your boyfriend, and he was bad news anyway, and just keep up the good work. Keep working on yourself. We're watching you." It was always like in the plural. And then that one time he left. Now, I thought I saw him once in Belgium, and I lived there years later, but he didn't come up to me. And I mean, oh gosh, wouldn't you have asked him? I don't know what would happen. And then I would forget about him. That's the other weird thing, is he would pop up, say all this stuff to me, know exactly how old I was, tell me everything was great, disappear, and then I would forget about him. And then, a year goes by, and he would come back. So, and you just reminded me of that. I want to ask him, what's up?
I wonder what you're going to dream tonight, Tui.
Yeah, man.
Wow, it's so fascinating that you didn't, especially as you got to be a little older, that you didn't engage him. That you didn't, Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. That part does not, that's not me. I always have a million
questions. Okay, the fact that it's not you, that we were getting some vibe from him then.
I would just turn it wasn't like sleep paralysis, it was like day paralysis.
Yeah.
Does it make me a bad person that the takeaway I got from your story is that now I want to just go to random people and say things like that just to see? It's like put on an all-white suit at the airport and just gently touch one. Do not get on this plane.
Just walk up and give people stuff. I think you should have this. Give them. I thought about doing that with stuff I don't really want, or those gifts around your house. Just coming, things you want to get rid of. Just walking up to people. I think you need this. Wouldn't that be neat? No. But I used to do that, actually, prank phone calls. I have so much karma on me for prank phone calls as a kid. We could call people. We could go up onto our roof, get a flat roof. My friends and I we'd call people up and we'd pretend to be psychic and tell them like, I sense you're wearing a floral shirt, and it was terrible.
And the man's just like, how did you know?
Oh my God! No.
See, back when tech was lower, you could get away with a lot more.
No caller ID.
Caller ID. Exactly. Natalie, we can't do that these days. Yeah,
that was a sad day.
Well, Michael, if you do that, you've got to have somebody with you, who's carrying a very small video camera, or maybe just a phone video camera, so we can see it. If you ever do that, we have to.
Yeah, I will have to do that. I'll make a whole YouTube channel just about that, approaching strangers.
That's right. That would be incredible. And we'll bring you chicken sandwiches in jail, as they used to say. So, somebody commented that the experience you had, Tui, was like a next level stalker. Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The weird thing was, it was so strange. Like, how did he know these things about me? It was weird. I don't know. It was very strange.
Yeah.
Have any of you do you remember three-way calls?
Yeah.
Where
Party
somebody
line.
didn't tell you there was another person on the line? Did you ever do that?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
That's funny.
I don't think that happened after high school, but it definitely happened like in that period for me, grade school to high school. Yeah.
And the third person chimes in half hour into the conversation. By the way, we're very proud of you. You're doing great. Disappeared.
No, you are. We saw what you did, right? Okay, that, at the concept. Right.
That's too funny.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, one thing we haven't touched on tonight is our aliens or UFOs.
Yeah.
And really quick, for anyone who is watching right now, please share this stream on Facebook or wherever, on Twitter, and let's get more viewers out there, because I want to find out more about the community.
I even have some alien water with me.
Ooh,
this is water from the space alien, the 1897 space alien crash here in North Texas.
Yeah.
I gave a talk at a thing a couple of years ago about it, and one of the things they gave me was some of the water from the well. So
does it still taste good? Or?
I have not cracked it.
Water green.
Really. Alan, you went to that site, didn't you?
This is the headstone, because it was a
yes.
It was a grave.
Oh, the Aurora.
Okay. Yeah, the Aurora crash. Okay, so yeah.
Do I remember that you visited that site with Ken Cherry, Alan?
Yeah, we were there last spring, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Ken Cherry of Epic Voyages Radio, and Ken Cherry, who was once upon a time when he was in part of the MUFON investigation, he led the investigation into the Stephenville Lights in Texas, and has a novel about it called Mark Slade Investigates, which is a very cool read. It's just
I moved here right after those. I missed them.
Oh my God.
Oh, right. God,
I know.
But it was still, I'm sure, a buzz, because I mean, for years, it was, and I think it's one of the most significant ufological events we've ever had.
Yeah.
And I'm dumbfounded with how little coverage it gets. On podcasts and programs, and just in conversation in general.
Do you think that is intentional?
No, I think just in the community. I don't know why, but I feel like people in the community, just the ufological paranormal community, aren't fascinated with it the way I thought that they would be.
It is weird.
I
do notice in Texas.
Yeah,
definitely. I do notice that the Texans are really quick to tell you history, and they've all got a ghost story. Then you move to UFOs, and are like, oh, aliens. That's crazy.
Right, I know. I don't get it.
Let me tell you about my Happy's ghost.
All the Texans I know are all about the UFOs, and they've seen them. So I don't know. I just know all the cool Texans, I guess.
I guess you got very lucky.
About the random Texans. Yeah.
Right. Well, there's a woman. What is her name? Alan, you can help me with this. Jane, Texas UFO. Jane, is that?
Jane. Oh yeah. What's Jane's last name? Oh my gosh, Kelly. Is it Jane Kelly?
I just don't remember, because when I interviewed her once upon a time, and Jane was all she used. So yeah, but she covers exclusively.
I'm sorry, Jane. I'm forgetting your last name.
Oh no! Oh
Well,
my God!
her Instagram
like her
handle is
page.
UFO Jane TV, I believe. So if anyone wants to check her out, that's where you can
Okay,
find her.
there we go. Okay, UFO
Yeah.
Jane TV. Oh, that's fantastic. All right. Well, so everybody, check
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
And
Or you can go to UFO Jane her on Twitter. It's at TX UFO sightings.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
excellent.
Maybe it's TEX, not TV.
Well, hey, say, what a difference a letter. Like Septembryo spelled with a BRYO. See, there you go.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. And so leaving Texas just briefly, but it's a big state. We can come back. I understand. Oh my God, it's pretty open, but we won't go there. Natalie, when you were in Belgium, was there any talk about the flap, the big UFO flap that happened there? Brussels,
No.
I believe, mainly, or was that still remembered? I don't
was
even have a year. I think late 70s.
yeah.
So it would have been
It was like
before you, but
87, I think.
okay.
Or was it?
And-
Never heard anything about it when I was there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, when I was there, I was very in my own little kid bubble. We had babies,
Right.
and it was hard to.
Yeah.
So I was writing ghost stories at the time. That was about all my brain could handle at
That's awesome.
that time. But yeah, I had the chance to meet Travis Walton last fall
Nice.
at
Pretty nice.
a
I met him too.
paranormal convention, and that was fascinating to sit and talk with him for a while. So
God. And what was your impression of him?
he's just he's just so serious, and to have someone like that who's had this happen so many years ago and never once wavered from his story, it just very authentic. So
Yeah, and also Mike Rogers is on KGRA radio now with his own show, and obviously he was the foreman during the Travis Walton abduction, so he was there. He was driving the truck.
Was driving the truck.
Yeah, so Carole and I have been very lucky to have a lot of conversations with Mike, and between the two, I don't discern any dishonesty.
no, it was just such an authentic.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Retelling.
I remember, the point when I yearned to meet Travis Walton someday. I understand he plays a pretty mean guitar too, by the way, Michael.
He does.
Nice.
When I was at UFO, I spoke at the UFO Congress, and he was playing guitar. Like he brought it to the like hors d'oeuvre thing. He's like, anyone want to jam? And he's like, oh yeah, he's really fun.
May I make a proposal on the air and put Michael on the spot? Maybe we can get Travis to play.
You think he would play "Smoke on the Water"?
One of your songs. Like,
damn. But of course he does. Yeah, Fire in the Sky. Isn't that the second
Exactly.
one?
That's
Awesome. All right then. Wow, perfect. Rock, pun intended. But no, I just lost my train of I remember not a train of thought, a truck of thought. I can remember when,
going around the curve really fast.
Indeed. And what is that glow off in the distance? But I can remember when Travis Walton made he shifted. He did not change the narrative, except to say that he believed that what happened to him, this blue energy bolt from the craft that knocked him on his ass, and Michael Heston Rogers drove the truck off because they all thought he was dead. They thought he was gone, and they were afraid for their lives. They didn't think they could help Travis. And then in I guess, when would this have been, Alan? Do you have a year on it? Maybe in the it was, I think we had the internet, so it would have been, like, I don't know, maybe 2000. Travis said that he believed that this Ray and his whatever, all the stuff that happened to him on board the craft was an attempt to help him because they had injured him inadvertently,
Oh,
and
yeah, he does say that.
that was just
That's that injury, the captured bird thing again. How terrifying it was for him, but maybe they're trying to help him.
Yeah, wrong place, wrong time. Yeah. So guys, we have to wrap it up.
Oh my God!
Thank you so much for joining me for the first hour.
That went really fast. You guys are fun to hang out with.
So Michael, we can see at Septembryo on Twitter, Natalie at NCT Fowler, and Tui.
Oh, TuiSnider.com is a good starting place.
Okay.
Check out my YouTube channel. Oh, I got some stuff. You want to see the space alien grave? Go to my YouTube channel. I live 20 minutes away. So.
Okay. Yep.
And Grave Goods, the new book.
And Grave Goods.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
woohoo, great bits.
Yeah, it's a fun read.
Where
And,
can we read
Natalie,
your
do you
ghost
have a new
Natalie?
book out as well? The Spirits Way?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, there we go.
I have a book coming out this fall, just in time for Halloween. It's
Ooh,
called The Spirit's Way Home, and it shares a lot of ghost stories and things, and of the souls that I've helped and rescued and whatnot.
Wow.
And
Doing
some,
good work.
not all human.
Whoa.
It's fun.
Ooh, I want to read it.
Awesome.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Perfect for today. And Michael, any new music?
New music is coming. It's in the works. Like I said, everyone's stuck in
Yes.
their homes creating new stuff, so I'm
Yep.
no exception. But for now, you can stream Septembryo on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and the new album Nightmares is already out, and you
We're all
can
having-
check that out.
Yeah. Please do.
Exactly. Indeed.
And Carle is going to hang with me in the second hour. So thank you all so much. And yeah, I'll see you around.
Thanks for having us.
Everybody,
Thanks for
this
having
was
us.
fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye-bye. There's Ken. Okay.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
I believe I just heard Heidi Hollis.
It's me.
The Heidi Hollis.
All right. Welcome everyone to
I'm looking good.
Listen, Renee, just you're smaller than I remember you. It's sort of like, but you're in a
I'm
circle of
very
light.
tiny
How
now.
perfect is that?
welcome everybody to hour 2. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello. Oh my God, this
Thank
is
you.
incredible. Wow. So Alan, are we broadcasting now, or is this just like a warm up?
No, we are live.
We
This is
are
it. We're ready to go.
I
Yeah.
just want to. I don't know if you guys have a chance to listen to what just came before.
Yep. Oh, Ken, sorry, I had you muted there.
Oh, okay. Well, there's
Ken,
Ken.
can you unmute your mic? Because I can't seem to do it from here.
Yeah,
There
sorry
we
about
go. There we go. Oh my
There we
God.
go.
Oh, guys, this is wow. Well, first of all, happy National Paranormal Day.
Yay.
Same to you. Happy National Paranormal Day. How about that?
Because that's a true holiday, right?
It is,
Yes.
of course. Not the invention of anybody here on the screen.
Yeah, my gosh, yeah, think about that. Wow, it's amazing. Like, oh, Shane, like, wow, Shane, right? Have I got that right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. I watched For Coffee and UFOs last night with Alan, and you just kind of rocked my world. A lot of things that I had just never considered, but like, why not? And Ken Summers, and then we're now Facebook friends. Yay.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That is very cool. And Heidi Hollis and Renee Barnett, we go back to Inception Radio Network, which is where Alan and I first connected. And Renee had Night Vision Radio, and Heidi Hollis had The Outlander. And oh my God, this is just like, well, Alan, take it, lead us off here.
Well, I just want to bring Renee on because I know Renee can only be here for a short bit. So Renee was on Carle's show Behind the Obsidian Curtain with Heidi this past Friday. And so now Renee is with us for a little bit. And she has a really cool event coming up as well. So I wanted to let Renee share a little bit about that because I think it's something we'll all be fascinated with.
Alan,
Oh,
I am
thank
hearing
you
a
so
crackling
much.
sound. Can you
Look
is
at
coming
that.
across for anybody else?
Yep, Renee, are you there?
It's amazing.
There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
It's very faint, and we hear a little bit of a crackling.
Yeah, there's a crackling going on.
Yeah.
You know, I'm getting a terrible reception, and I apologize.
Oh, then she's
I
gone.
may just let Heidi tell you about the event because she's very
Sure.
much involved.
Yeah.
Oh, I can hear you better now. I don't know if that's better.
Okay, you're
Can you hear me
very,
better now?
very faint.
Can you get any
Okay.
closer to your mic?
You know what?
Renee?
I am going to let you guys have it, and I'm going to let Heidi tell you about it.
Sure, yeah.
We talked about it already, just in case I had a problem. And but I did just want to say one thing. I love Travis Walton. He is so amazing, and I heard you guys talking about him. And you know, I had just met him a long, long time ago. And also, I had the great fortune of knowing Betty Hill of the
Oh,
Betty and Barney Hill thing.
Mhm.
And Betty told me Travis is telling the truth. She said he's the one that I believe of all these people that are saying that they're having these experiences. She said he is. You can take it to the bank. So that's straight from Betty Hill. But anyway,
Wow.
I'm going to let you guys go, and we do have a wonderful live event coming up to entertain everybody while they're isolating at home. And we're also going to be donating to 3 charities for COVID-19 relief. And Heidi's going to tell you how you can connect with it, if that's all right.
All right, perfect. Yeah, Renee, thank you so much for coming on and sharing that.
Thank you, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Renee.
guys. I apologize for the technology.
No worries. We all are used to this, you know, especially during this period. I think we've all experienced some, you know, degree of tech. And I know Heidi has.
Oh, yeah.
We can talk about that in a bit.
Oh, wow. She's probably the one that's causing my problem right
Oh,
now.
no.
You know, okay. Heidi and her effect on machinery. All right.
All right. Well, thanks,
Oh,
Renee. Have a
boy.
good night.
Take care, Renee.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah,
Well, Heidi, do you
thanks,
want to
Renee.
give a little more detail about the event?
Yeah, so it's the Real Life Conjuring House. There it is. So that's May 9th to the 16th. I'm going to be interviewing Corey Heinzen. He is he's part of the family that's moved in there. They're a ghost hunting family, so they're ghost hunting enthusiasts. And so I get the opportunity to chat with them because, lo and behold, they've had shadow people. I'm not shocked, but so I'm going to be there talking, interviewing him. I'm actually doing the recording, my new podcast, which is called Angels to Aliens, on the Believe Network. And I'm going to be interviewing him exclusively tomorrow, just audio only. So I'm going to be recording him, and then I'll be putting it up on the Believe Network's site. And
Right, and of course, if there's anybody listening who is not completely clued into Heidi Hollis, you can definitely, if you've got an hour or two, you can Google all of the things that she is responsible for. But she is the preeminent namer of the shadow people and the Hat Man. And so she knows whereof she speaks, my dears.
Yes, for sure. And I got this information that Renee gave me because I just got this bit of info that advanced ticket sales are going to begin tomorrow for $4.99 for 24 hours. This is to do the live stream of the Real Conjuring House. That's going to be on thedarkzone.tv. So this is at $14.99 for the entire week, which is a deal. So it's like 24/7. You get to look at the cameras. There's going to be 16 cameras put throughout the Conjuring House, the Real Conjuring House where this family is living. And and the free preview Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I guess they're going to allow people the opportunity to take a peek in there and to see what's going on. But I'm excited. Tomorrow I get to talk to Corey and get some of the scoop and see, we're all a little curious about ghosts, but are we willing to move into the most haunted house probably in the country right now?
No. That's the question. And I've got a little bit of the press kit. Since Renee's not here, I'm gonna take the liberty, if this is okay. Does this work for you, Alan? I read a bit of the press kit that she sent me.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Quarantined with the Dead, the Dark Zone Network presents an epic live streaming event in the world's most haunted house. The world is on lockdown. Most everyone is sheltering in place, left with no fresh content to watch and dying of boredom. Now, imagine being locked down, essentially trapped in the world's most haunted house, just you and your company, all the dead people. While many of us revel in the perks of an extended staycation, one family's quarantine situation is almost unthinkable, and they want to give you a front row seat to see what their terrifying lives are like in the real-life Conjuring House. So, from May 9th to May 16th, the Dark Zone Network proudly presents a 24/7 interactive live streaming event like no other, entitled The House. The House is a week-long immersive experience documenting the daily lives of Corey and Jennifer Heinzen, the current residents of the notorious haunted house made famous by the hit film The Conjuring, which chronicled the experiences of the house's former residents, the Perron family. A little over a year ago, the Heinzens moved into that house thinking they could handle whatever came their way. After all, they are paranormal investigators themselves. Almost immediately after the family moved in, paranormal activity reached a fevered pitch. And now they need your help to figure out what lurks in the house with them. This ominous abode will be rigged with multiple cameras, so the audience will have a completely immersive experience. In addition, the Heinzens will conduct paranormal investigations, seances, Ouija board sessions, and invite some of the most well-known and respected luminaries in the paranormal community, enter Heidi Hollis, to walk in remotely and share their most bone-chilling experiences from the house. And so, you know, as Heidi said, you can view this. It's an event that goes for 24 hours. You can purchase a 24-hour session singly, or you can purchase the entire week. The single session, $4.99. Is that, Heidi? Do you know about these prices, or this is when I wish?
$4.99 and then $14.99 for the entire week, nonstop. I mean, having access to be able to spy in on this house without, I don't know, risking your soul. That's kind of.
Without
kind of a cool idea.
Without carrying home.
Isn't that what ghost hunters do all the time anyway?
No, exactly.
I'd rather have a little drone going in. I hope they get a drone and I'll be controlling it. And I'm like, where are they?
There we go. You know, a remote session, indeed. And the good news here, the other good news, besides this being an extraordinary event, is a portion of the proceeds.
It's bad. It's bad. I have friends just like having to walk off the job because they don't have protection. You know, what do you do? And I'm a therapist, and my colleagues are therapists, and they're not doing therapy. They're doing like vitals. That's not what we do. You know, they're doing things outside of the scope because they're just so short staff. So,
wow.
Well, in regard to hauntings in general, I just want to quickly introduce Ken Summers.
Hi, Ken.
Hello.
Howdy.
So can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Well, I've sort of created a niche for myself. I sort of specialize in ghosts of a LGBTQ nature, whether it's historical hauntings or recent hauntings or famous people like Liberace to more lesser known people. Well, depending on the circles you're in, like Corpsewood Manor in Georgia, the whole murder that took place down there. There was another murder in the Capitol Theater in Clearwater, Florida. But sort of basically all those hauntings. The new book that I've written that I'm, because of the whole COVID-19 thing, is sort of in limbo because all the publishing companies are just freaking out just as much as everyone else. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer communities' involvement in basically the entire history of the paranormal, from early psychical research and spiritualism to Wicca and UFOs, cryptozoology, you name it. So I'm sort of trying to branch out, and any kind of sexuality related to anything in the whole paranormal realm is sort of something that interests me. But I've been a paranormal investigator for over 20 years now, so ghosts are always my fallback, I guess you could say.
Yeah, but you know, your line of inquiry and Shane's I find extraordinarily important. And Shane and I were just talking about this on Coffee and UFOs. Is that if you don't know what that person's sexual orientation was, in their living life, then maybe there are questions or ways to reach that person in the afterlife that you've missed. I mean,
exactly. And the whole assumption of heterosexuality, just like in real life, it's if you assume that someone's straight, it can lead you down the wrong paths a lot of times with anything from personal life issues to just you name it, really.
Yeah.
The same thing applies with the paranormal, really. It's if you're trying to track down a ghost and communicate with them if they were, say, involved in a gay bashing, and you're a very masculine male and you're trying to ask questions, they may not be very receptive to the whole idea because they find you as a threat.
Right.
So there's a lot of different factors to think about and all that. But there's always been a debate about whether sexuality should or should not be involved in the paranormal. I know different folks like Nander Fodor and William Roll were more open to the idea of involving sexuality as possibly a cause of poltergeist activity and all of that. And then you had people like J.B. Rhine who completely avoided it because they didn't want their research to have any chance of being ridiculed by anyone in the scientific community. So it's still an ongoing debate because it is a sensitive subject. It's really a taboo within a taboo. Dealing with sexuality and
double whammy. Yes. Double whammy. Yeah.
Shane, you've had similar growth as well. You have expanded with the Q Files podcast to not just cover ghosts, but all things paranormal, cryptids, what have you.
Yeah, definitely. Much like Ken, I got started, kind of exploring the paranormal, and then, as we were doing that, we kind of began wondering, why was everything so heteronormative, and
great word.
Why are a bunch of LGBTQ folks sitting around here asking, these kinds of questions, and why aren't we including the possibility for there to be, gay or lesbian or transgendered entities out there? And we did that, and we turned it into a web series called Queer Ghost Hunters. And then, as that kind of started tapering off and we wanted to keep creating content, we ended up starting a podcast called the Q Files. And like Alan said, it kind of covers everything, whether it's a haunting, ghosts, aliens, cryptids, whatever it is, we're kind of taking an in-depth approach to exploring the phenomenon, no matter what it is or where it leads.
Yeah. Heidi, in your experience, have you considered much in the way of non-heterosexual?
I have. I'd seen an episode, I think it might have been called a Haunting, and there was a couple of guys, and this ghost started harassing them so terribly, and it was because he didn't agree with their lifestyle. And I was like, wow, what a twist. And it's a perspective I'd never really thought about. Like, well, from the other side, if they had bias, then it discriminated, then why wouldn't, of course they would, take it out on a couple that moves in that's a same-sex couple. So I thought about that after I'd seen that episode. It's really, really fascinating. You guys had seen that?
Yeah, I have, and it's I think it was the first time I've actually seen kind of like the in LGBTQ like themed haunting kind of thing on more mainstream TV.
Right. Yeah, it was kind of a nice twist.
Yeah, there were a few episodes of Dead Files that covered the same thing. I don't know if it was just my perspective, but it seemed like there was like an entire season where half of the people were gay on that show. And it was it seemed like every other show, one of the people who were experiencing the haunting were gay, and that somehow factored into different things. But there've been little subtle hints in the past before this. I mean, Most Haunted did a few episodes of hauntings involving gay or lesbian people. There was the Fitz Manor, supposed to be haunted by a gay monk. And then there was one of my favorite stories from Wales, Plas Nawyd, which is now a museum. It was the home to the ladies of Llangollen, who lived in the late part, I think it was the late part of the 18th century. They basically eloped together and moved to Wales from Ireland.
Oh, wow.
And they lived out their lives. They became very famous in the town. It was a lot like, if anyone out there has seen Gentleman Jack, that new series from the BBC, where it was just these two women who openly lived together, dressed in men's clothing, and were completely accepted by their whole community. But they still haunt their old house there as well. But it's just a good variety of different things, really, with the paranormal, dealing with that, with sexuality and all that. But it's always something, that's sort of what started me in this whole field was I did a lot of local investigations to start off with. And it was just sort of a one-day thing, just off the cuff, having a random thought of, you never really hear about any gay ghosts. And it just started me on this research investigation, and it led to one story and another story and sort of snowballed from there. And I eventually want to redo my old book because I've found so many more stories since then. So that's while I'm stuck quarantined and off of work and everything like that, I figured it's a good opportunity for me to finally start going through my huge list of files that I have on hauntings from all over the world and start compiling them into something that makes sense for a change.
Yeah, I'm going to filter this question actually a little bit. So maybe Shane and Ken, if you want to take this, if an entity, spirit, ghost, whatever, is gay in the afterlife, might they have been straight in the physical world, but not become gay, but opened up their sexuality? Let's say, become.
Whoa.
Is that even a thing? Is that even possible? Could it be great in the physical world, pass over, and then go, you know what? I don't mind either way,
There's an alternative here, right?
Like little fluid, right? I mean,
yeah. So, I mean, I think that's a really complicated question. But I think if we're it depends, I guess, how you think of the paranormal or these supernatural entities. If they're all part of some greater whole consciousness, and all kind of part of the same thing, then I do think, it would be entirely possible for there to be continued fluidity and sexuality into the afterlife. But I think a lot of, for me at least, and probably in Ken's experience with what he's done in searching queer hauntings, is that what we find is that a lot of these entities were at least perceived or lived a very heterosexual life in their living life, and then after they cross over to the other side, or whatever this other realm is, they're more able to be their authentic self. And that's what I've focused on a lot, is kind of reaching out to these entities that we kind of suspected, through reading through the lines of these historical documents, and then, creating a safe space to kind of make contact with them and make them comfortable with, coming out.
Yeah, see, all right. I don't think I'm going to be able to verbalize this very smoothly. So hang on, everybody. But I was absolutely, as the Brits say, gobsmacked by watching your Coffee and UFOs last night, Shane. And now, of course, Ken Summers, I'm going to look into your work more extensively. But I mean, after having done a lot of research on the birth of the American modern spiritualist movement, the Fox Sisters, 1848, Hydesville, New York, etc., what had just never occurred to me was the fact that the what can we say, the fraught energy, the deeply misunderstood energy of having this to absolutely not come down on any side, and so that even the people in the Bible Belt are an alternative lifestyle. Okay, that the idea that would bring an energy to an arena where someone had died who had been gay and closeted and gay and the unimaginable pain that would come with having to deny who you loved. I never ever, that was just not in my bailiwick at all. And I just want to say, thank you both for broadening the horizon of that for me, because it just I never saw that as a potential.
Actually, the spiritualist movement, starting in, I would pinpoint about 1850, just to
Yes, right. The actual
simplify
break,
things.
right? 18. Yeah, but good. That's good. That'll do it. Yeah.
But yeah, it was actually a bit of a safe haven for gay and lesbian people, because you could get away with things as a spiritualist that you couldn't in normal society. I mean, you could be a male and become possessed by a female spirit.
Oh, I get it.
And you could hit on men in the room.
Wow.
And there's Rudy Snider, the medium in the 1920s and 30s, who his main spiritual guide was Olga. So he always channeled through a female. But there were a lot of people in the early spiritualist movements who had questionable sexualities. And we had, there was one case of a female medium who would always channel a male and put on a fake beard whenever she was channeling that. I can't remember her name.
Rampa?
But then there were...
Are we talking about Rampa? What a JK?
Oh, Rampa. Oh, I thought you said Grandpa. I'm sorry.
No, Rampa.
Okay.
Rampa, JK Knight. And she would do this like she had a beard. She would do that. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I wish Renee Barnett was still in the call here, because in the broadcast, because I believe that, if I'm not mistaken, she had some experiences as being around a bunch of people who were in her, in her company, the Jay-Z Knight situation. So, now that just opened another door. Yeah. Wow.
And there were a lot of people too, like Daniel Douglas Home, who...
Yes, right.
Even though he was accused of fraud many, 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 many times, there was always a question about his sexuality.
Wow.
A lot of the male mediums that you'll come across, there were always questions about them. My mind is blanking on some of the other famous names from the time period, but there were a lot of people. There were even Colville, Wilberforce Colville, who was involved in the spiritualist camp. I can't remember which one, if it was Casadega or not. He was gay and closeted about it. Even Montague Summers, who wrote extensively on witchcraft, demonology, and all that, he did a quick about face. He went from writing erotic poetry about men to completely freaking out about the idea of witchcraft and demons and all of this. So he had some sort of psychological breakdown, I think, and completely went from being a relatively closeted gay man to believing that he was going to burn in hell. And I don't know quite what happened at that point, but there was a lot of interesting backstories with a lot of this. But one thing I did want to touch on, going back to the mention about sexuality and changing sexuality with passing over or the afterlife and all that. I think it's possible that you could have the freedom in death to explore sexualities that you didn't feel you could in life itself. So there's always a chance that people may have been thought to be straight and then opened up to the idea of being gay or bisexual after their freedoms were liberated a little bit.
Right. There's no longer the rigid thing of being earthbound and in human society. Right.
You know,
Right.
it's important to note as an occupational therapist, I have a lot of dementia patients, and they're just like, I don't know why Dad keeps grabbing the other guys. I'm like, Dad's pretty consistent with that too, and it's like he may have been on the down low, or it was, it's just his true self coming out. So I see it a lot. So they think, oh, they're just confused. I'm like, sure, that's it.
Maybe they just don't give a damn anymore. They just want to be who they are.
Yeah.
But then even Ian Stevenson did a lot of work on reincarnation, and in a lot of his cases around the world, there was a question in his mind about changing genders between lives in reincarnation. And he was actually theorizing that it was possible that transgendered people could be somehow, it could be because of their changing sexes between past lives and their recollections of those past lives, and making the whole idea of gender more complicated than that.
Yeah. So if you internally were one gender, but to the world you had to pretend or keep that secret, then when you pass over, if you are a lingering spirit, then does that spirit manifest as your true self? Is it how does that express itself?
You kind of get into the question too about Wilhelm Reich and his orgone energy, and that whole story. I always find it interesting when people talk about combating aliens and lizard people with orgone blasters and all that, because I wonder if they really know the story about Wilhelm Reich and his orgone energy accumulator, which and it gives you a whole different meaning on the whole idea of an orgone blaster.
Right. Google it, folks. But yes, right. I don't know if I would. Now I'm just laughing at what the Wikipedia entry might look like. But anyway, but oh wow, a valid point. And Shane, last night you opened my brain to an extent that was like sort of monumental. That the idea that because I had absolutely, I'm stuck fast in the thing that personality persists after we, cross over, after we transition, after after we die, quote unquote. And if that personality persists, then so does sexuality. And it blew my mind because I had never thought of that. It had never occurred to me.
Yeah, but my understanding too is though that personality does persist.
Yes.
A personality can change, or rather maybe its true self is expressed on the outside, because with medium work, it seems to be that once they've crossed over, the messages back to their loved ones is, I'm sorry, I messed up, I love you, those sort of things. There seems, and it seems to me that, how you perceived that person, how their behavior was in the physical world might actually change, because now they have perspective, and they can understand their place in this universe in a way that none of us totally do, or at all do here. But I'm curious, because I don't think, shadow people, the Hat Man, these are not human entities.
No.
Now Shane and I were discussing, what if Bigfoot, has variation too in gender, sexuality? Who knows? They are part of nature too, assuming they're of this world. Why not entities? How have you seen any evidence in regard to that?
When it comes to shadow people and the Hat Man, he'll violate in any way that he can to anybody. So he's known to rape men and women. So it doesn't seem to matter. Whatever he can do to make a person feel lowly, depressed, broken, he'll do it. So it's a whole power trip. It's all about possessing and controlling, and So
Do you think that it's not actually sexuality? That it's just a form of aggression, and that's
it's a form of aggression. Yeah, it's a form of taking over, taking control, making you feel helpless, and saying nothing will help you now.
Right.
So he'll just go there. But people do feel he's getting great pleasure off the things that he's doing, and making people feel horrible. So in any way that he makes people feel horrible, not just being aggressive sexually, but abuse. Period.
Yeah. Well, I know someone like Kathleen Martin has really paved the way, and Free, the organization she has participated in, has paved the way for making abductees and experiencers more comfortable about sharing their experiences, but also not therapy, because you have to be a certified therapist, but support groups for those people. Are there such things for other entities, whether it was a horrid Hatman experience or a cryptid experience?
Yeah. I have a couple of groups online on Facebook where we try to have that kind of a warm environment where people get their different experiences and whatnot, where they can share it and express it. I have a group called Paranormal Pledge, and that's just anything and everything out of the ordinary that somebody's experienced, and to just pledge to share, to say that you experienced something instead of sitting isolated and getting depressed about it, or just having no one to rely upon. So no matter if it's angels to aliens, to be honest. And then I have Shadow People and Hatman Experiencer group on Facebook as well. And it's the opportunity, again, for people to express what it is that they've experienced. Now, I had a UFO paranormal discussion group that would meet at the local library for over 15 years. So I met a lot of people, and we got a lot of things accomplished. And it was really, I think it was really healing. But then, of course, as the internet grew, groups broke apart. People were like, why am I going to drive 2 hours? It's like, right. And because they came from all over the place, because I wasn't that far from Chicago, and I mean, so it was it's changed. So it's like, okay, so now it's more of this one-on-one type of thing. If I get emails, I'll write them back. I also have a new, you'll like this, Alan. I have a new blog that I put on Medium called the Hatman Letters, because gosh, it's like 98% of my emails now are about Hatman.
Yeah.
So,
and for years, right? I mean,
it's weird because I grew up in a haunted house, and then I experienced the alien stuff, and I had a website before most people on the planet did. I did, and then I discovered Shadow People. Everybody thought, what the heck? She's science fiction, And then all my emails changed over to Shadow People, and then I put Hatman on, and everything has eventually become Hatman. So if people go to my main website, HeidiHollis.com, I just literally started the Hatman Letters because it's out of control. And it's hard for me to get on with everybody to talk to them. So I try to, if I don't reach out to them by email, talk to them in these groups online. Anything I can do. So, and now with the new podcast also.
I do have some other more fun questions for you guys, but I am curious. In my experience, I haven't really noticed discriminatory speak amongst the paranormal community. Have any of you experienced that at all?
Yes. It's like, what's this young girl coming up here to try to speak on something? Yeah, I have, and I've had. Well. We'll give you a TV show, but can you show a guy how to do what you do? Oh, yeah. This thing that I've been doing for 20 years, I should just hand it over to a guy. Yeah. I mean, it's been I have not really been invited to go speak at conferences. And then a guy writes a book on Shadow People, and he's getting invited. I'm a little off-white as well. I don't know what it is, if it's about being a woman or being off-white, but I had both going against me. And after 20 years of like, you guys, this is a real phenomena, and then it's just like, it will just take that from you and go.
Yeah,
And,
it's kind of
now
it's
I've got
sort
it
of like,
registered. They're both trademarked, so let's see how they pick up and go now.
it's like that meme of the university professors who take the grad students' work and put their names on it, baby.
Yes.
And
yeah. Although there is that question of like, if somebody writes something about a Bigfoot and someone else writes about a Bigfoot, there's people can still write about these things, right? It's just about not taking credit for work done, essentially.
Well, it's interesting how that works, isn't it? But when I get these emails, Heidi, I just put this book and it's all your work. They just repeated everything. I'm like, really? It's like, hey, are you associated with that film? Because they're using the name that you gave this thing 20 years ago. Really? Call it something else then, because it was me paying on my own dime as a college student to get out to these conferences using open mic time because I wasn't invited to talk and talking. That's how I got word out there. And then the book was put out. I wrote it in 97 and it started getting circulated among a lot of authors in the paranormal field. And because who published paranormal books? It was other authors in the field. So I was sending it out to all of them. David Icke was one of them, and he was going to publish it, and just didn't. Something happened at the last minute. So it's just a whole lot of stuff. And just before I get the book out, somebody started talking about shadow people, and they're like, "Oh, you didn't come up with that." I'm like, check the copyright. Yes, I did.
Exactly.
It was circulating. I wouldn't have been able to get the trademarks if it wasn't, So, but yeah, I mean, it's not encouraged, to, I don't know. It's like, be kind, people. It's just
be kind and be authentic.
It was not easy. It's like, oh, that little young girl going around talking, trying to get on stage. Oh my God, I was trying to save people. That's horrible.
It's like, yes, there are, all kinds of people that are out there representing. But yes, there's definitely, like, we've discussed this, there's certain channels on TV where it's like they purposely cast all dudes, right? It's like they're almost like they're going out of their way.
They do.
It's nuts. But I think that, I don't know. Will social media, will this sort of thing help change that? I guess, Shane, you've sort of experienced a change, right? Because what you guys were doing on YouTube, that garnered some more attention and I think opened up doors, right?
Yeah. I think what our group and me personally, we kind of already fit the mold, or at least a lot of us did. But then we, instead of trying to, work within the system that already existed, we just decided to do our own thing and work around the system. And, if doors won't open for you, then you go make your own door. And that's really what we were focused on doing. And,
you gotta kick them down, Shane. Down.
Yeah.
What I did. I learned to use your elbows sometimes too.
Yeah, right. Any men are, Shane, I just gotta say, look, I don't know, did anybody else just see something kind of float across that black curtain that's behind Shane?
I was going to make an orb joke, but
okay, well, thank you, and at least thank you for the validation, because, like, am I losing it or what? But wow, honestly, just a couple of inches above your head. Was that do you have a light there, Shane? That could.
I do. So I have a light here.
Okay, but did it move?
No.
Oh my God! Well,
we're gonna have to go back and look at this now.
Yeah,
this is very fascinating. Oh, Ken, thank you for your
1 hour and 38 minutes.
Yeah. Whenever I tell folks about my house, I always tell them that it's haunted, but that I reached an agreement with them. And the room that I'm in, which is my office, because I don't really, I use it frequently, but it's not a lot, right? A few hours a week. That this is their room. So I guess it's possible that maybe something was just like, hey, you've been in here a little too long. What are you doing?
Or maybe, just like a cameo experience.
Yeah.
A cameo thing. There we go. Okay. Well, whoa. All right. Well, so I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt, but okay. Wait. Okay.
I do want to ask you guys. So I'm going to start with Carole. What about the paranormal excites you? What's fun about it for you?
Well, right now, what's fun is, thank you so much, because I just have to weigh in that right before the orb thing happened, I was thinking that, Shane, you look like a young Elvis.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, have you ever,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, I've been told that a few times. Yeah.
Okay, good. So it isn't just me. All right. And I don't know if you're seeing the graphic that's beside you, but it's like it looks like it's the Gimlin Patterson Bigfoot footage.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Okay, and that's mind blowing. What excites me? I think the fact that that we have more information, and then of course, then the troubling part is that one has to weed through that. You have to exercise discernment. Who's putting this on the screen, and I'm talking about all the shows that deal with the paranormal, where there was a dearth before. There's like an overabundance of information, and some of it is absolute BS. There's no question. Some of it is, in terms of the ghost busting arena, it's like, oh, what was that? Freeze, and again, you've got these dudes with the, and dudettes with the camera, the infra and blood, and so their eyes are all green, and it cut to commercial, and we know that meme, and we put up with it because we just want to see, and they'll come back, and then it's regurgitative, and then blah blah blah. But it's somehow, I don't know, I just can't help but hope that within all of that, all the plethora of shows that are sometimes inauthentic, that the seeds are planted, just in the same way that an astronomer would hope that the science fiction films about outer space are going to plant the seed of interest in the younger generation, and they're going to carry it forward and do something with it. That's what excites me, the fact that there's this crop of stuff. And it's also exciting to think of newcomers who are, kids who are in high school at this point, who are interested in this sort of stuff. And I also find it fascinating that we may be able to have a scientific approach, a repeatable laboratory experimental kind of approach, and be able to recreate these things so that they can't be denied.
So that they can't even hide?
Yeah. Oh, there's a lyric from Michael 8 of Septembryo. They can't even hide. They can't be denied. Okay, there we go. Okay, we'll send it to him. But yeah, wow. And I must say that it is a thrill to be reconnected with Heidi, to have been on her show way back like 8 years ago. And this is just
it is so great to see you. This is awesome.
Yeah, and you just look fantastic, girl. And I just,
so do you.
Wow, bless your heart. And this is all going into wonderful, good places. There's a lot of love abounding. Yeah. And so that's, I've said my piece.
Well, can I change? So Carole, Heidi, and I all were involved with Inception Radio Network before it collapsed.
Thank right.
Yeah.
Thank right.
And that's where we all met.
And that began about 8 years ago, something like that. Yeah, and Heidi, you were there, I think, before I even found the station.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was. I was a guest on Kevin Cook's show, and then he asked me to co-host, and I was on it. I was on CBS Radio at the time, and then I joined over there.
There were nights where you were driving home from work on the phone. I'm sorry, I'm late.
Right.
Oh my God! I worked all over Chicago, and I would get stuck in traffic, and I'm like pulling it, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready. Oh man, it was crazy. That's so funny, Alan.
That is hilarious. I had forgotten the driving Heidi part.
That's my takeaway from all of your shows.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I started out in the chat room, and I asked a bunch of questions, and
yes,
and Carole Daniels from Fringe Radio, which was also broadcast out of a land-based station, KTKK in Utah. They said, you want to be a guest? And so, my deal was the Fox Sisters, blah, blah, blah. And then Heidi asked me to be on her show. And it was through sending my bio to Heidi that the owner of IRN asked me to do like the paranormal, what was called the UFO headline news, right? So I did that for years and years and years.
You did a lot of work, man.
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah, because you took that gig after I left. Yes,
I did. I was like, dear God, how did she do this every day? I was like, this is killing me. It's like I did not do justice after you were done.
Honey, but no, you put your own spin on it, my dear. No, you were great.
I just was being silly.
No.
Oh goodness, man.
Wow.
For myself, the paranormal in general, even ufology, it's almost a spiritual experience for me. Like it's almost therapeutic. And I don't know if like as anyone else experienced that, where almost like if you're not reading up on it or not watching shows or not talking about it, like something's kind of missing from your heart. Does that make sense?
It does.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what about you, Ken? Like what's significant about it for you? Because with all the dark things that are involved in the paranormal, there's a lot of light and exciting and positive things as well.
Yeah, it's not, that's the one pet peeve I have about a lot of these paranormal shows nowadays is it seems like they're all focused on fear mongering and making people terrified of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much humor and happiness, sadness, a whole range of emotions that really comes from paranormal experiences.
True.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all awful experiences that people have. People have profound changes in their lives from what they experience, going from believing that absolutely nothing. It's like D. Scott Rogo, who wrote extensively.
Yes, and he was murdered, and that murder, as far as I know, was never solved.
It was never solved. He was murdered in 1990
in the San Fernando Valley.
They think they know who may have done it, but he was released on a technicality.
Oh my God!
And yeah, I actually have a glass from the bar where he was last seen.
Oh my God!
I found a bartender who used to work at the place in the 80s, and he was selling a glass on eBay, and I snatched that thing up really quickly.
Oh, this is blowing me away because one of my great regrets, something I get out and visit on a regular basis, is that I didn't pick up his book, which of course I can now get on eBay, but his book, Phone Calls from the Dead, right? And I just remember... And then when the Los Angeles Times carried his obituary, actually before the obituary was the story of his murder, that it was like a kick in the gut.
Oh yeah, but he was always a very skeptical, very he was a very analytical person. He was a true parapsychologist. He believed psychology and science were very important, but toward the end, right before he was murdered, he was essentially convinced that there is something beyond all of this. And he was, for the most part, an atheist with his beliefs religiously. So that says a lot that in his probably 25, 30 years of work, because he started out as a teenager writing for Fate magazine and all that.
Right.
But he became convinced that there was definitely something more to this whole experience, that maybe there is a hereafter after all.
Oh my God. So D. Scott Rogo, I mean, everybody Google that. And I'm having an absolute physiological effect by the fact that his name came up during this conversation. It's sort of the last name I expected to hear. Oh my God. It's absolutely perfect for paranormal nowadays, isn't it? Not, you know what?
And he was gay too. So
really? And so I did not know that. So there we have another overlap that is absolutely perfect. Oh my God.
And he actually wrote one of the books. I don't know if you've read it, but you may have, the Tuhunga Canyon Contacts.
Wow. No, I don't know that title.
Definitely look that book up. It's a book that him and Ann Druffel wrote together.
Yes, I know. Oh my
series
God. She was a guest on the show that I just mentioned, the Fringe Radio with Pat and Carole Daniels. Yes, she was a guest on that show more than once. Wow. Oh, okay. So alrighty. This Shane, this started with the orb that buzzed right above your head. And I just this is absolute, Alan, this is perfect. Alan, how did you do this?
It's talented.
But I do want to ask Shane before we run out of time. Like, what is the paranormal meaningful in some way to you?
Is it meaningful?
Yeah. Does it give you a sense of meaning or purpose, or does it fill anything in your soul?
Yeah, absolutely. I for me at least, it's the sense of kind of exploration and discovery, and kind of the ability to create some magic in the world. You know, and at least in modern times, and maybe it has through different periods of history, but it feels like we're at a certain point in time where a lot of things seem figured out and everyone is confident that we know what's going on. But then, you know, you can sit back and you can look at the paranormal, the supernatural, or just, you know, phenomenon outside the popular consciousness. And you really have these moments of, you know, what is that? Or, you know, what could this be? It reinvigorates just the mystery and wonder of the world.
Yeah. Okay. So you are probably familiar with the term two spirits, right, Ken and Shane?
Yes.
Heidi, are you familiar with two spirits? Generally speaking, a Native American term.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. So, you know, do we think that there's something to that people who you know, are more gender fluid or gay or lesbian are able to sort of tap into something that maybe, you know, heterosexual people don't tap into?
That's been hotly debated for decades now.
And
about
Ken,
whether or
I'm
not-
sorry, let me quickly preface that for those who aren't familiar with it out there, a two spirit was often what a shaman would be considered. And it's someone who's able to kind of connect with the other world. And my understanding is that usually it was someone who was gay or lesbian. In fact, we talked about that in the Born Equal documentary that my wife and I did some years ago. Sorry, go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, it basically, like you were saying, the reason why it's two spirit is the idea is that certain people possess spirits of both genders, male and female, and so they're a combination of both. They walk the line of both genders at the very same time. So sort of our idea of our concept of transgender nowadays would be something comparable to it, but it's a more spiritual thing. But yeah, there's always been a big debate about whether or not people who are two-spirit or anything similar in the many, many different cultures out there have a closer connection to the more mystical world. There's a lot of people who say that it's true, but there's a lot of people who disagree. You get involved a lot in different colonialism ideas and things like that that sort of taint a lot of our views of other cultures. So it makes it a little bit harder to tell about the true nature of a lot of it. But I have a lot of books on Native beliefs and such. And yeah, it seems like there's a general consensus that two-spirit people have a stronger spiritual connection. That's why they were often seen as the shamans or the more important people in the tribe. They were counselors. They were seen to, by possessing both male and female genders at the same time, to be more open and understanding about not only the universe and how it worked, but how interactions between people happened as well.
Yeah. Heidi, do you have any thoughts on that?
You know, it's something I really haven't thought much on, to be honest. It hasn't come up in the line of work that I generally focus on nowadays. So I'd say Shane would be next in line.
Yeah, so I think you know, well, I know what a lot of the times happens is these communities of oppressed people or people who experience oppression, you know, they're already outsiders, and that makes them more willing to dive into these kind of more esoteric pursuits. But also, you know, there's a sense of at least a lot of the times with kind of more magical pursuits, there's a sense of reclaiming power, or the ability to finally have power in a system that is no longer supporting you and is in fact oppressing you. And we find that not only with just LGBTQ folks, but even kind of ethnic populations. We did a great episode. It's called Witness on the podcast, the Q Files, and it's about the history of the African American stories that these slave people, they could fly, and it goes back to this whole idea of the ability to kind of have this magical force to escape the oppression. And it turns from, well, I mean, because it's not well documented, we don't really know fully where it came from, but it seems like maybe there was some stories in Africa that came over with them, and it became a way to tell a story and kind of give hope that turned into kind of like a folkloric theme in the community.
Yeah.
And unfortunately with like the LGBTQ community, we don't have a lot of those stories recorded. And I mean, there's some, but a lot of our history was kind of oral history. And so maybe we had ancient stories of flight as well. But I think more likely it was that we had, kind of a history of joining communities that focused on the supernatural.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even I think it's fair to say the difference would be that being gay or lesbian was to be not existent. So why would you write anything down? You'd be afraid to.
Yeah, I mean, you writing it down would be outing yourself. A lot of LGBTQ folks can kind of, just pretend to be straight, pretend to be heterosexual, and you don't need to cause yourself the harm necessarily, especially in societies where, they're more oppressive than, a lot of where we are now.
Yeah. Okay. So what's everyone's favorite cryptid? Starting with, I'll go. Mine's chupacabra, and I think that it doesn't get enough coverage. But Ken, what about yourself?
I'm going to have to go. It's debatable whether it's a cryptid or a some kind of non-human entity, but I'm going to go with Popobawa from Zanzibar.
Okay.
Whoa,
The bat demon of Zanzibar.
Oh my God! If we want to Google that, how in the world do we spell it?
Popobawa. It could be a jinn, according to some people in certain beliefs, but other people, at Josh Gates with Destination Truth, actually went over to Africa to try and find the Popobawa at one point too. He forgot to mention the fact that he tends to rape men in their sleep. But there's a really good book written by Catherine, I think her name is Daly, but she wrote extensively on the cultural significance of it and it as a Tanzanian entity.
There she blows.
Oh my God!
We see it now.
Yes.
All right.
Holy bananas!
Yeah.
So, my God, there's Mothman, right?
Very attractive.
Yeah, but it was also a way of the marginalized communities in Africa to express themselves, and it's been used as a political tool in certain parts of Africa, and it's also been used as a way for gays and lesbians in Zanzibar to express themselves in a very, very devout Muslim country.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah, but see, that to me, it does look a little bit like a chupacabra.
Yes, it does.
And you said Mothman, right? So
Chupacabra meets Mothman.
Kind of, right? That's really interesting.
Oh, doggone.
Well, what's our fascination with such bizarre creatures?
And gargoyles, for instance, in Middle Ages architecture. So isn't that the sort of thing? And listen, I'm so sorry, but this is so strange. I must interject it. I know it's sort of a little off topic, but it's not. I just got a little Skype message showing up on my computer screen here from Tessa Dick, who is the widow of Philip K. Dick.
Oh.
And I interviewed her. We sort of touched bases initially way back at IRN. She actually was in the chat room on a couple of occasions. And so, I don't know, a while back, I approached her and said, "Will you be my guest behind the Obsidian curtain?" And indeed, she was. And that was a fascinating show. Well, she just said, "Are we supposed to do an interview today?" Well, I looked at my paper my paper calendar, the old-fashioned kind, and nope. But I kind of told her what we were doing. But it's like, how weird is that? I mean, that's just like, okay, all right. So back to the what was it called? The Popo something, whatever.
Popo.
Yeah, I just had to share that because it's like. It tracks, and it tracks in my very strange life. I mean, okay, all right, Alan, I've got a question for everybody here. Did you kind of have a sense, as in your childhood, regardless of sexual identity, blah blah blah, did you have a sense that you were going to, as adults, have what shall we say, the paranormal? In your lives, did you have that feeling where you called?
Oh, called like a calling?
Yes, called like a calling.
No. I okay. So we had a group called the Spy Patrol.
Your big wheels.
10, 11, yeah. And I guess moving, I lost it, but I used to have like a little booklet, and I would take notes. And we would go out into the woods, and we'd look for people who were doing like bad things in our community. But then we were just looking for supernatural stuff. We were going out to the woods trying to find if there was like a little fire pit and stuff around it. We'd be like, oh, it's a Satan worshiper thing, And we were looking for evidence for UFOs, and in New Jersey where we grew up, we had the Jersey Devil.
Right.
So we were always on the outlook for the Jersey Devil, and if we saw odd footprints, which were probably just large geese, we thought we had something. It was so exciting. Yeah. So, and I wish I had that. Those little. It was like those little notepads. The flip.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
So it was always there for me. I don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was from watching E.T. It's my favorite movie of all time.
He's got it on.
Yeah, my wife surprised me with the best birthday gift ever.
Okay.
We took me to the Lincoln Center, and we saw the screening of E.T. with a live orchestra.
Oh.
I was crying. Oh my God.
I love it.
Because the music is moving through you, John Williams, and it's.
I saw something like that with Star Wars. That was awesome.
Oh, so cool.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I feel you. I was like goosebumps the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
Best date ever. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Best date ever.
And did you feel you would wind up where you are now?
No. Well, I was always a weird kid. I probably about 5 years old or even younger. Every year I would look forward to Disney's Halloween Treat and the retelling of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow with Bing Crosby, the old cartoon, the animated one.
I love that.
Yeah,
that was still to this day one of my favorite things in the world. But I was reading ghost stories at like 5 or 6. By 10 years old, I picked up my first Lloyd Auerbach book at the library. So I was the weird kid. And I think that's where it's different for people nowadays, because you almost had to be a closet ghost hunter back then. Because if you told people that you investigated ghosts or you liked reading about hauntings, they would look at you like you grew a third eye.
Yeah.
And you would be immediately shunned and outcast by everyone because you're a laughing stock.
Yeah.
But now it seems like it's a lot more accepted. You can be like a 7-year-old kid and say, I'm a ghost hunter, and you're suddenly popular because everyone wants to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Back then, it was like you just don't talk about it because people are going to make fun of you.
Yeah.
So Shane, what
about you? Oh,
yeah.
Go ahead, Alan.
No, Shane, I just want to ask you really quick, what's your favorite cryptid? because a recent podcast on Q Files. What was the name of the monster?
The Crosswick monster.
Yeah, Lori was telling a story about that.
Yeah, so I was gonna say the Mothman just to keep it simple, and it's interesting and semi-local. But then Ken and you kind of, I don't know, hit the same like flavor note of cryptid profile. But I still think it's interesting, and I enjoy that there's like more recent sightings too around like Lake Michigan and stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's Chicago's Batman,
There we go.
Yeah.
And it is Gotham City. I mean, oh my God, I used to go looking because I know the vicinity of the areas that they were reporting these sightings, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's like right here. It was like a couple of minutes from where I was living. But yeah.
And Ron Strickler, Phantoms. Let's see, Pulse of the Paranormal, Phantoms and Monsters. Yeah, his website is all over that.
Yeah, he's all over the topic.
Absolutely.
For myself, I have to go to the good old fashioned Bigfoot because man, he's I'm a cartoonist and I do a comic strip on Bigfoot. So it's called The Outlanders, and so I have this Bigfoot. His name is Hog, aka Hog Wharf. I mixed a little bit of Star Trek with,
exactly right.
with Harry Potter, and so an alien lands on one hill and makes a home with his wife, and then a human homesteader moves into a haunted cabin on the other hill. So he's just really ticked and angry, and then when he gets really fed up, he like shaves himself off and he goes into town to get like a root beer or something. Yeah. And people just think he smells like a wet dog and they don't know why. So so that's the outlanderscomic.com if you want to check it out. But it's fun. But I saw something that I had a Bigfoot throw rocks at me before. I didn't see it.
Yes.
That I had the boulders. I shouldn't say it was rocks. It was a boulder. Yeah. And then I saw something once in somebody's home. And inside.
Yes. I think I remember that story.
Yeah, it's just so crazy. And I screamed Bigfoot like that, and my friend screamed werewolf at the same time.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I just, I couldn't see the head because the cabinets were hanging so low, but it's just like Cousin It. It was just shaggy, gray, brownish fur. I was like, what was that? Inside somebody's home, it like shimmied in, like a mirage. Wow.
Like Predator.
So,
Predator.
Yeah, it did. Oh, it gives me chills every time I think about it because it's like, okay, my eyesight could probably, all right, I don't know what I saw, but my friend right next to me, same time, it's like, wow, we really saw that just appear.
Wow.
So yeah, so it was wild.
Did you see this coming in your life?
Did I see this coming?
Did Shane?
Just going in. I'm sorry.
No. Heidi, you had a lot of stuff that prepared you for what you do, and all the stuff that you contributed and incredibly, But Shane, did you see yourself, Shane?
We lost Ken.
Oh no. Oh dear, Ken's gone. Well, anyway, so Shane, are you with us? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Shane, did you expect to be in the There's Ken again? Hello.
Oh, sorry about that.
Over there now.
Wrong button.
Right there.
There he is, right? Shane, did you think that you would end up in a broadcast like this?
I was like Ken, I was a weird kid, and I had plenty of experiences and curiosity growing up. But I'm not sure I ever thought I would be, kind of doing this on a semi-regular basis. Wow. But I do definitely feel like there was some kind of nudging towards this, or kind of something drawing me towards it to explore it in a more serious way.
Shane, you're also an attorney, right?
I am, yeah.
Oh my God.
In the first hour, we had a psychic medium who's a lawyer.
Yes, we did.
In the second hour, we have an LGBTQ ghost hunter who's an attorney. I love it. The times are changing.
Get these people. This is marvelous. This is what I'm going to say. Oh my God. I'm going to try to do something here that is absolutely beyond my ability, but it is in Spanish. Does anybody here speak Spanish?
I think it's Portuguese.
Oh, Portuguese. Well, then I'm even more lost. Okay, it is from Walasa Pereira Ribeiro. Yes. and it's a long question. Anybody want to attempt this? Can you see the emails that I'm seeing on the side here, guys, in the chat?
I don't see a chat.
Do it with a Spanish, but I don't. I will
I know that's a legit.
Google Translate.
Yeah.
Okay, you can.
Google Translate it. Copy paste it.
Okay. Well, so like, are you gonna do that, Heidi, or I haven't even.
I can't see this chat.
Okay.
I don't see the chat.
Más triste de ser diferente que procesos la
there it is.
familia quieren se aprovechar de voce. That's a Spanish dialect there, and that's probably not right. But I know that I am but sad at the difference in the something the family quieren all together. No, I'm lost. I'm so lost, Velocity, because I really would love to do this. But I can't. And
Velocity, can you?
Yes.
If you speak English, can you type it in English, and then we can ask it?
Yeah, Velocity Ribeiro, can you possibly? Let's see. For the negative cause of many looks at something, but the many looks, I don't know, salvei cosa de meus dentes tive que me isolar por 20 años. So
Velocity says no English.
Shoot.
Yeah. Oh well.
Hold on it. Okay, well, wait a minute. You know what? How many times have we got, Alan, in terms of?
I tried to see if I can copy and paste it. And
Yeah.
It's a Google Translate.
Yeah, exactly.
Good idea, but no.
I didn't see this. The comments off to the side here. Sorry about
yes,
that.
Right. It is a live chat coming in.
I do want to ask. Do we think that Bigfoot is a physical being here on Earth, part of the human branch of hominid family, or is it something interdimensional? What do you guys think?
I think he shifts in and out. I do. It just has to be, because I mean, he goes to, otherwise he is the fastest creature on the planet, but I don't think so. He's got a way about him. I mean, I saw one shape just shimmy out and shimmy back. I mean, and you can still feel its presence. It was really,
oh my God,
really scary. And it was indoors in the middle of a city. So,
whoa.
I mean, I've interviewed a lot of cryptozoologists. I'm like, have you ever heard of such a thing? They're like, no.
Wow, can you set that scene a little bit more for us, Heidi? Can you give us the what's what of that?
Oh, the details of that?
Yeah.
So I had the UFO paranormal discussion group for like 15 years at the local library, and there's this this lady that kept coming to the meetings, and they think I'm a psychic. So they're like, come to my house and feel what you can feel. And I was like, I'm not a psychic, it's like, but, I do investigate and look at things and whatever. So I brought my friend with me and go over to her place. And she's like, and over here, I feel this, and things have moved. And I just felt like, there's a ghost coming on. And then we're sitting in her living room, and myself and my friend are sitting on her couch, and we're facing towards her kitchen, and the cabinet over a counter, like a bar like counter, and the cabinets are hanging kind of low. And so she's facing us as she's talking, and I'm just like, out of nowhere, just this hairy beast just appears, like, like a mirage. And I jump up and I'm screaming, Bigfoot, and my friend's exact same time, werewolf. And the woman's like, where? And I'm like, oh my God, it's in your kitchen. And then it just like it seemed to like spin around, like, oh crap. And then it just like shimmied out. And I mean, it was solid. It was so solid. And it was just the craziest thing. And then God forbid I had to use the bathroom and go through that kitchen a little bit later. And I was like, feel it there. You could still feel it. I was like, oh my God. I like walked sideways, shimmying past it. I was like, oh my God. I saw a creature.
You also had a corroborating witness, which is just astonishing.
Yeah.
And it seemed to be just as surprised to see your presence as you were to see it.
It seemed to like turn like, I was like, oh my gosh. but it was the craziest thing I'd seen at the time, anyways.
Odor.
One has to wonder if there is that liminal space, and maybe it accidentally came through.
Like, wrong. This isn't a forest. Where am I?
Right. Yeah.
Oh boy, I don't know. It was really odd, but.
Shane, what about you? Do you even think Bigfoot is a real thing?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm kind of willing to believe either way. I think it could be a completely unknown natural, species, but I also think that it's very likely kind of a product of, this new understanding of the phenomenon where, it is something likely from another plane or another dimension, someplace else that can kind of shift in and out of our existence, and that's how it ends up being in someplace like a kitchen, kind of just a wrong landing.
Whoops.
But I think when you start kind of understanding the kind of all these occurrences, whether it's ghosts, aliens, or cryptids, as something that's this other type of phenomenon that's generally all connected, it kind of makes sense how they show up and why they interact with us the way that they do.
Yeah.
Wow.
For sure.
All right. So I think we should wrap it up because we're definitely over the 11 o'clock time.
We are. Oh no!
I've been really enjoying this conversation. I just want to add one thing, which I meant to say earlier when Renee popped in for a bit. So in the first hour, we were talking about under the COVID quarantine, how a lot of us are experiencing, strange and frightening dreams. I personally have not. I did have a nightmare recently, but it wasn't really like out of order from my regular pattern of dreams. But I was messaging with Renee Barnett last night, like minutes before I went to bed, and we were talking about how to connect here. And I was saying, Google Chrome is the better browser to use. She's like, I hate Google Chrome. Last time I downloaded it, it messed up my Mac. So, and then she was like, yeah, this and this happened. And I was like, oh, thanks for the info. I'll look into that because I'm working on the Mac too. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
No problem so far. But I had a nightmare about my Mac being overtaken by malware. Yeah. And it was the first nightmare I've had in a while. Yep.
Oh, wow.
Have you guys had any strange dreams since this shelter in place?
People are having COVID dreams, like they caught it, and I had it, and I was like, it was almost like a virus in the air of thought, and it's like my friend had told me, oh my God, have you heard about people having nightmares about having the COVID? And she's like, I had one. I'm like, well, that's weird because where I'm at, there's none in my county even. Like nobody has it in the county, and lo and behold, a few days after she told me that, I had a dream I got sick. I'm like, I don't feel heavily concerned about it where I'm located, but I'm very empathetic to people's plight.
Yes.
And I'm hearing too from my colleagues. I mean, night and day. It's horrible. It is horrible. And I have friends like Alan in New York, and I'm just cringing. I'm like, don't make me drive over there, Alan, and pick you up and bring you back to this horrible California that you didn't like so much.
I know, right?
I was like, who doesn't like California? Alan.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Hey, there's two of us in that decision.
Well, I'm a native Californian. What can I say? And I want to say hello from Derhuff One. He says, "Hey, Heidi."
Hey, Heidi.
I see him.
Yeah, there it is. Okay.
Hi, Derhuff. It's great to see you again, my friend.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
This is quite amazing.
Him and Carole. I mean, boy, they supported me all the time on IRN. Really sweet. And I had some really bad luck back then. And they were always there.
Heidi, because that's what friends are for.
Yeah, I'm really grateful to have a friendship with both, you and Carole and Heidi. It's like you guys are really special to me, and I'm so lucky.
Oh, same here. Alan calls it just chew the fat sometimes. Like,
I mean,
Alan?
exactly. And this is just an amazing thing. And, Shane and Ken, I just want to say, be on the lookout, because I am going to get you on my show Behind the Obsidian Curtain on KGRA sometime in the month of June. So be ready. And, I'll treat you gently. What can I say? It'll be fun. And it's only an hour.
She's really on her game, though. Let me tell you, she is really on her
heart, my dear. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're looking forward to doing a special 2-hour that Bill Skywatcher, my Mr. Producer Man, is going to facilitate at KGRA. We're going to have Maureen Seberg, who writes for Psychology Today magazine, and previously was a journalist from the New York Times, and found out about Heidi and went, oh my God. And so look forward to that. But and Alan, thank you so much for including me in this, my dear. This
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's the relationship we've had since IRN is just, it's been awesome. You've always been there for me.
Oh, bless your heart. Right back at you, honey. Right back at you.
Alan. He's a cool guy.
And his incredible wife Svete. And so, this is it's a love fest reunion, folks. And Liana Anelli Petronemier.
Lena.
Lena.
Lena is a friend of Ken Cherry's, and Lena and I met when I went down to Texas.
Oh my God.
We spent a couple of nights at Ken's place. Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, fantastic. And she says good night. Vayota, good night in Russo. And I say Piera Ribeiro says Russo. And so whatever that means, yes, indeed, my dear.
Yeah, and shout out to Derhoff. Thank you so much, Derhoff and Ron, for checking in with us tonight.
Shane and Ken, it was great to connect with you both.
Yeah, absolutely.
Incredible.
I need a paranormal lawyer. I'm going to Shane.
And Ken has got all this history, the D. Scott Rogo stuff, that blows my mind. So,
Ken is doing well, Derhoff, just so you know. Yeah, we spoke recently.
Yes, Ken Cherry is doing well, yes.
So I want to thank you all for joining in tonight. I really, really appreciate it, especially for hanging an extra 20 minutes. I want to let you go. So
thank you.
But if anybody wants to hear Ken and I mean, Heidi's been on the show several times, Carole as well, but you can find my conversation with Ken on Paranormal Now as well if you just go to the KGRA archives or Spreaker archives. Shane and I just did a Coffee and UFOs recently, so you can go to youtube.com/paranormalpop, check that out.
Check that out.
And then Carle, Behind the Obsidian Curtain on KGRA, of course. Please tune in and check out her show. And Heidi Hollis, what's the name of your new show? I'm sorry, Heidi, it slipped me.
It's called Angels to Aliens, and it's on Believe.com, BLEAV.com.
Okay, and Shane, also known as Lana Del Gay on Twitter.
I just love that so much. Oh, God. Okay.
At McClellon Shane. And then Ken Summers at Moon Spenders. So please go and tag, follow, check these wonderful people out. And that's it. Thank you guys so much. Have a great night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right.
Thank you, Alan. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.